there. Today we have been planting blueberries, and while we're planting this last one, I want to share 5 tips to help you when you plant perennials, shrubs, and trees in your own yard. I'm Amy Landers with GardensThatMatter.com, where we believe your garden is the key to better food, a better life, and a better planet. And perennials are an awesome addition to any garden, big or small. They are plants that come back year after year. So we love edible perennials. Create a food forest, right? Shrubs and trees that are gonna give us fruit and berries like blueberries. So when you plant perennials, there's a few things you wanna keep in mind. The first thing is to get to know your plant. In this example, we have got blueberries, which we got from our local 4-H plant sale. In fact, they sent us with a whole packet of information from the Extension Service. If you want to do a search for your plant, you can use search terms like .edu, which will pull up extension resources. Another way I love to search for information about plants when I'm getting to know a new plant is to use the term permies or permaculture, and that'll often pull up permaculture articles or the Permies Forum to give me more permaculture insight on the plant that I'm adding to my garden. So blueberries, we know that they come from wild blueberries, huckleberries that would grow in forested areas, in places with acidic soil, in regions with acidic soil. We know that they're gonna love to have lots of organic matter in the soil. And so this one is gonna do really well here. We have acidic soils naturally. And then this area where we'll be planting has had mulch on it, it's had a cover crop on it, and so we have been preparing this area to plant things into. So we know it has nice, rich organic matter ready to go in the soil. So this blueberry is gonna do well here. Tip number 2 is to plant your perennials at the same level that the soil is in the pot. So you'll just not planting them much deeper, not planting them more shallow. You're gonna have the soil level be equal to what it is in the pot. For most perennials, this rule is gonna hold true. When you get to know your plant, you may find some exceptions, but usually soil level equal to what's in the pot. So that means we don't need a super deep hole. We're gonna dig a hole about the same depth as our pot, and then we'll go a little bit wider. Colby has actually been through here already, loosening the soil with a digging fork just to make sure it's nice and loose, not compacted. And so that's gonna help make sure that these plants' roots, when they start growing, they can just move out into the soil. So let's dig. A bonus tip, if you are digging in a place with really hard soil, go ahead and loosen the soil around and like put it into the middle. You can kind of move your shovel around and then empty the soil out of the hole. And that'll save you some steps, especially this ground is nice and loose. But if you don't have nice loose soil, that's a nice thing to do. All right, so we'll test our pot, and that's gonna be about right. So we're ready to go and plant it. So you might be wondering, should we put compost or fertilizer down in this hole? And that brings us to tip number 3. For perennials, do not amend the soil where you're planting. You want this plant to be in there and start putting its roots out into your native soil. If you fill this hole with beautiful composted soil with lots of fertilizer and it's just like the most beautiful soil in the planting hole, the roots are gonna stay in the planting hole, and we want them to move out into the native soil. That's gonna make your plant more drought resistant. It's gonna give it access to more nutrients, more water. So no amending your hole with compost when you're planting perennials. Now, if you have not been preparing the area that you're planting into, you might think, oh, my soil isn't very good, I need to amend it. We'll do that after. Tip number 4, if you see flowers or fruit on a perennial that you're planting, you're gonna go ahead and prune it off. I know, it's hard. And if your plant is really leggy, or you have cross branches, or you have dead branches on here, go ahead and clean it up. Trim that out a little bit. I'm gonna trim this one down just a little, knowing that that's gonna help it put its energy down into roots, and then next season it'll be better positioned to grow flowers and fruit for us. Now's the time that if you want to amend, you could add some compost, some organic fertilizers to the surface, and then we're gonna mulch on top of it. We'll get to that tip in just a minute. But by putting them on the surface, the rain's gonna pull those nutrients in, the microbes in the compost are gonna move into the soil, and the worms will come up, they'll be moving things up and down in your soil. That is gonna help you amend the whole area around your plant instead of just the planting hole. And so you'll be building better soil, healthier soil over time, while that plant is also getting kind of tough and moving into the native soil more quickly with its roots. Remember, a plant's roots, whatever you see on top of a plant, the roots are at least that much and often more, right? So if your plant is 2 feet around, your roots are going out 3 feet. And so we're gonna put a little compost around this one, and then we're gonna get ready to mulch it. We're gonna water this in, and you're almost done, but not quite. We've got tip number 5, which is to go ahead and mulch around your plant. This is going to conserve moisture in the soil, and it'll help you have less weeding to do later on. We're gonna do a simple sheet mulch with old feed sacks. We're gonna put them down as a weed barrier, and then put our wood mulch on top.
Okay, now.
Why are you doing this to this one blueberry?
When you mulch, make sure that the mulch isn't on the stem of your perennial. Pull it back. No mulch volcanoes. And now you're good to go. There's your 5 tips. Number 1, know your plant so you can give it the ideal conditions. Number 2, plant it at the same soil level as it is in the pot when you get it. That means you're gonna not have a deep hole, but a wide one. Number 3, don't amend the soil in the hole. Number 4, trim off any flowers or fruit that it already has so that it can put its energy into roots. And number 5, use mulch so that you don't have to weed as much and to conserve moisture in the soil around your plant. I hope you plant lots of perennials in the season ahead. Until I see you again, happy gardening.
Happy gardening!